Hello and welcome to Educated STEM. I'm Kate, the founder of Educated STEM, and today we're going to continue our series on how to perform an academic job search and apply for the role. So today we're talking about the documents that you're going to prepare and that you're going to be submitting as part of your application. And so you're going to tailor some of them specifically to the institution or the department, and there's really only two that you can just write and will be submitted to all of the different schools that you're applying for. So the two documents that you can probably just write and then just send them off wherever are going to be your CV and your list of recommendations or references. Everything else really needs to be tailored, and those are going to be a cover letter, your research statement, your teaching philosophy statement, also known as a teaching statement, possibly a teaching portfolio, likely a diversity, equity and inclusion statement, and if you're going for a faith-based institution, probably a faith statement as well. So let's talk the cover letter. Obviously, this is going to be tailored for the institution that you're going to be applying for. You need it to be coherent, and for the theme that goes through all of your other documents to come through into the cover letter. Don't cut and paste things from each of the different things. Make sure that the cover letter is a uniquely written document which explains why you are a good fit for this role, why you're interested in the particular institution and department. You're going to mention your proposed research project and your teaching experience and methodologies, and you are going to maybe mention some of the diversity, equity and inclusion or faith statements that you are also going to write to kind of link all of this together. We want one nice cohesive thing from your cover letter all the way through all of your other documents, so they just get one really good view of what you are like as a candidate. And you are going to be specific about this, so you need to go in, do some research on the institution, the department. You're going to mention specifics about each. It could be a mission statement, it could be some kind of teaching pedagogical thing that they do, it could be a specific program or initiative that you're excited to get involved in. This needs to be tailored. It needs to be specific, so that when they read this, they're like, oh, this person really does know about the institution, they're very invested in this, they did their research, it's gonna look good. But obviously this is a letter, so you need to write it appropriately. This is not an email, so it needs to have a correct letter template and follow all of the etiquette that goes along with that. So you're going to have all of the addresses on there. You're going to have correct spelling and grammar. You're not going to shorten any words. You're going to use salutations. This isn't where you start writing something without saying hello appropriately, and you're going to say goodbye appropriately as well. You're going to use a professional looking font with a decent typeset so that people can read it. You're going to have nice margins. This isn't where you're going to cram all of the information in. White space is actually a good thing on a cover letter because it doesn't make it daunting for the committee to read this. There is going to be a search committee. They are going to have an awful lot of applications to look through. So anything that helps them judge you more favorably by having a well put together packet, nice to read, it's got decent sized font, you've got things, it will just help. Just imagine reading this late at night and thinking, oh, I just want this over with. You don't want your application to be put aside because you didn't make it a pleasant experience for the committee member. And then make sure that you write it to someone. Somewhere, hopefully on the job advert, it will tell you who the head of the search committee is, or it might say the head of the search committee is the department chair or whatever. That means you can go and find out who the department chair is, and you can address it to their name, or to the department chair and search committee. At the bare minimum, you are going to be writing it to dear members of the search committee, so that you can actually get a polite start to the letter. So the letter is going to be a couple of pages long at most. This is not where you're writing a massive essay. Just try and be short, sweet, and to the point. The next document is going to be your CV. So you can write this and you can just send this to every single institution. This probably doesn't need to be tailored in any way. The only difference is that you might want to bring some teaching experience higher up if you're applying for a more teaching position, versus having the research experience closer to the top if it's more of a research-based position. So obviously, first things first, on your CV, you're going to have your identifying information, your name, and if you have been married, you might want to put your previous name in brackets. If you have a name that you tend to go by, like a nickname or something, that might also want to go into brackets. Contact information, so email address, phone number, a physical address, and if you have a personal website, pop in the URL there. Then next important thing, your educational background. So these are your academic degrees, the institutions you attended, and your graduation dates. If you are a recent graduate or you haven't graduated yet, you can put your proposed date in. You might want to put some other information in there about who your mentor is and the topic of your dissertation. Next, you're going to have your research experience. So a short description of your research projects. This will include the question that you're answering, the different methodologies that you use, some findings, and any publications that you have had. Then it comes your teaching experience. So hopefully you have some. If you don't have any, then you probably are not going to be a strong candidate at this point to become a assistant professor. So again, write down the courses that you've taught, the institutions where that is, the dates, and any pedagogical approaches that you have used. If you have taught for a few years for different courses, then don't write them again, just write the years that you have taught them. It doesn't need to be too long. You want your list of publications, so your most recent one comes first. And so this is going to be papers, it might be books, it might be book chapters, anything that you have written with citations. And if there's a link that you can take someone so they can look at the work, then that's even better. A list of presentations that you have given, starting with invited presentations. So hopefully that is at conferences or other institutions. It could be symposia. But then going into if you've given presentations at your own campus, because that's less prestigious. Conference activity and participation. Have you organized a conference or symposia? Have you organized panels? Have you given presentations? That sort of thing. You need a section on awards and honors. Hopefully you've got some. So you're going to list them with the dates. If you won maybe amount of money as the achievement. Then hopefully you'll have a section on grants and fellowships that you've been awarded. This is a really key thing because they want someone who will be successful at applying for grants. So you're going to list the grants and fellowships you've received with the dates and the amount of money that you also received. You're going to have a section on academic service. So have you served on committees? Are you appointed to various senates? Have you reviewed manuscripts for publications? And have you mentored students? So this can be a large academic service section with subheadings. Leadership, have you had any leadership roles? So maybe you've been an officer in a professional organization. Also an outreach section. So maybe you've volunteered in the community, maybe you've worked with different schools and libraries, maybe you've given public lectures, maybe you have gone to one of the local STEM events and helped at things like that. So in LA and San Diego, and I'm sure across the rest of America, there's something called Expand Your Horizons. So maybe you have gone and presented to the youngsters at that sort of thing. That can be included. Any additional training, licenses, registrations, or certificates. And then this is obviously optional, but have you had any media coverage on your research? And put a link to the article. Next, you're going to have professional memberships or affiliations, maybe related experience. So if you've had internships, alternative employment or volunteer work. Skills and languages is a good one. You definitely want to put your fluency level with your languages. In theory, I still speak French and German from when I did it at school. I am absolutely not confident in either of those languages anymore, although I was pretty good when I was 16. And then obviously the list of references is sometimes included at the end of your CV, and it can also be a separate document depending on how the institution that you're asking for wants the information included. And for your references, you're looking at someone who can talk about your suitability for the role, but also can talk about your research that you have done, what you're like as a person. So this could be a graduate school advisor, a postdoc advisor, someone who's been on any of the committees, a collaborator, someone that you've worked closely with for a professional organization or academic service, that sort of thing. You don't want this to be someone that isn't involved in science and education. So think about who your references are going to be carefully. The next document is going to be your research statement, and this is a very important one. It's going to be anywhere between 3 and 5 pages long, longer if you have used figures or diagrams within it. You're going to cite your own research to talk about your current research and show them that you are known in your field and you have done good work. And then you're going to talk about the proposed research that you will do, which will differentiate yourself from your current supervisor. They want to know that you are going to be independent of them. And this is kind of a challenging section to write because you need to give enough information where you can show that you know your field, but you're not giving them so much information where one of them could read it and possibly run with your idea. That has previously theoretically happened where someone's gone to interview and then all of a sudden someone at that department has done that research. Completely unethical, but maybe this is where you can get a mentor or trusted friend or colleague to look at what you've written and make sure that you've hit that sweet spot where you show you know what you're doing, but you're not giving them an entire kind of pathway to how you're going to physically do it. If you need specific equipment at the institution, you're going to mention this here so they know that going forward. And maybe there's someone in the department or at the institution that you might want to collaborate with. You could mention that here as well. You want to make sure that someone who reads the research statement is excited, they want to talk about your research more, and hopefully that will entice them to invite you to an in-person interview so they can have that conversation, ask you the questions that your research statement has kind of brought up. The next document is going to be a teaching philosophy statement, sometimes called just a teaching statement. And this is a short essay to provide the search committee an impression of what you're like when you teach. So 2 pages or less, where you discuss what you're like in the classroom, showing that you're concerned with student learning and the student success and how you assess that. Hopefully you have taught your own courses so you can use some examples when you write this. And also look at the institution and department that you're applying for, because they might have key teaching methodologies and statements that hopefully you can kind of bring into your own teaching philosophy statement to show that you're a good fit. When you write this sort of thing, you want to avoid cliches. So it's not an honor to teach people. You're not passionate about things like this. Everyone else is going to be writing this sort of thing. So try and think of a unique way to write this document which will help you stand out against absolutely everyone else who is delighted about teaching the young minds that will lead America in the future. So just some thoughts for what you want to include. What have you previously taught, and what would you like to teach in the future? What is your scientific expertise, and what do you want your students to learn? So what are your learning objectives? What are the pedagogical methods and strategies that you use in the classroom to achieve these objectives? How do you assess student learning and success? And do you have examples that you can talk about to demonstrate the effectiveness of your approach? And the key thing, why do you want to teach? And if it's because I have to, because I want to do research, then that's not a good answer. So let's finesse this a little bit to make sure that it doesn't look like it's a hoop you have to jump through in order to get to the fun stuff. They might request a teaching portfolio, or alternatively, this might be requested if you get through the first stage of the interview process. So this is going to have more information. It is going to have examples of courses that you have taught. It might have syllabi, it might have materials that you have made, it might have student evaluations. So make sure that you've got all of these things. It's ready, so if they request it, you can send it. It might be asked for in the initial application, it may not be. Do not send it if they just ask for the teaching statement. You'll just be wasting everybody's time, because this can be an awful lot of information as well. You're going to have a diversity, equity and inclusion statement. So this is your opportunity to demonstrate the fact that you appreciate that historically underrepresented and economically disadvantaged groups have significant barriers to access higher education. It could also be because you're going to have diverse ranges of students in your classroom, from their ethnicities, gender identities, financial backgrounds, sexual orientation, country of origin. They might be first-generation students. They might have obvious or hidden disabilities, and this will lead to very different experiences, which will lead to different opinions in the ways that they interact with people. So how are you going to incorporate different elements of diversity into your teaching, your research and your service for the institution? And can you give examples of where you've been successful at this previously? So again, this is going to be tailored for the institution. They're probably going to have a DEI statement somewhere on their institution or department website, and there might be specific programs that you can name, and you can say how you would like to be involved with these and how you can help achieve their goals. If it's a religious affiliated institution, you might have a faith statement. Don't panic if you're not that faith. It doesn't mean that you can't apply. It just means that this is an opportunity where you show how your faith influences being a teacher and a scholar. So they just want to know that if they hire you, you are going to align with their values and the mission of the school. It doesn't mean that you have to be that religious affiliation. So just write that part with that knowledge first and foremost. So now you know what documents you need to write, how to tailor them. The next step is obviously going to be submitting it. So congratulations, submit it to the institution, and then you're going to wait and hope that they call you for an interview. So we're going to talk about the interview process in the next video. So I hope that helps, and please like and subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.